I may as well find God in the fog. That fog represents that time of obscurity. It's that period where it seems like you should be able to see God. It should be obvious that God is with you, but you become just a little bit uncertain. You're not quite sure. This was that time for the Israelites. They were not quite sure that God was with them. And so David shows up to help them understand something about the character of God in the fog. When you can't find your way, all you need to know is that God has you and he is there to defend you. And so David then gets into a conversation with his eldest brother Eliab. And as he is speaking with him, Eliab wants to know what you come down here for. Did nobody call you? What in the world are you here for? Was there not enough for you to do at the house? Who'd you leave those few sheep with? He's trying to minimize David's responsibility and the assignment that David had. Basically saying you should have stayed where you were because you're not qualified to be where you are. Oh, Lord. Look at somebody near you and tell them, had I stayed where I was, I wouldn't have been qualified where I was. I was overqualified for where I was. That's why I am where I am. Look at your neighbor, tell him, I'm not going back. I'm overqualified for my past. Matter of fact, I'm about to become overqualified for my present. That's why I'm working on moving towards my future. And here, the Philistine giant Goliath wants to make sure that Israel does not move beyond this place. He's trying to stop them on the battlefield. But it's in the battlefield that God shows up. It's in the battlefield that he reminds us that he is a battle axe in the time of war and in the time of trouble. And so David, in his conversation, he has first of all got to deal with his brother. He got to deal with family before he can even face the giant. He's got to deal with those who are familiar with him before he can even contend with the one who is supposed to be the enemy against them all. And so as he's dealing with his brother, that just becomes a little bit of a distraction. But then his brother begins to interrogate him and he begins to ask him a question. And David kind of responds. He doesn't react, he responds. Our problem is we react instead of responding. If you get enough word in you, then you'll start reacting to stuff. Instead, you'll start responding to things, and your response will be a scriptural response. Look at your neighbor and tell them stuff shouldn't be catching you off guard. You should have enough word in you by now, whereas whatever the enemy throws your way, whoever he throws it through, you ought to be able to have an appropriate biblical response instead of a reaction in your emotions and in your flesh. And so David then has a response. He does not have a reaction, and he goes before his brother and he basically tells him, he said, what have I done now? Is there not a cause? In essence, y'all down here, you're down here for a reason. I showed up not knowing what was going on, but since I'm here, look at your neighbor and tell him, is there not a cause? Is there not a prize? Is there not something on the table? Is there not something standing here to be won or to be lost? Is there not something to be contended for? David shows up in a time where they don't know what to do. And I can only imagine David saying to them, well, what I get if I win? Just give me a try. Since y'all don't want to play, let me play and let me see if I can win. I am finding that it becomes essential for every single one of us to learn to choose our battle. Every battle is not your battle. It does not require a response from you. It does not require time from you. Sometimes the enemy is just trying to frustrate you, just trying to distract you. And if he gets you caught up in a battle, then it basically distracts you from what you could be doing or what you should be doing. And so David then is determined. David is determined that I'm going to fight. Y'all don't want to fight? I got this. David shows up and he basically asks the question, is there not a cause? How much am I going to get for fighting? Is there a prize? Can I be rewarded for what I'm about to do? I can only imagine he asks a question, is there some other benefit that comes to my life simply because I'm engaging in this battle against this enemy? I can only imagine he asks one more question. Where is the uncircumcised Philistine? Y'all talking about him and running from him, but where is he? David gets himself ready to go down to the battle against the Philistine giant, and he hears the conversation of the rewards that Saul has even declared for the man who will defeat the Philistine giant. And David determines for himself, oh, I got this. I can do this. But then there's something that Saul offers him. Saul offers him his armor because Saul is a man of war. And Saul offers David his armor to go and fight the Philistine giant. I want you to understand, you can't fight in somebody else's stuff. I'm not going to be able to use your strategy to accomplish what I need to accomplish for me.